Tiller 1K from HondaGrom.net. We've got Luke Kwan on the camera today, and we're going to go through the Yoshimura full carbon fiber system install for you. We'll take it step by step and give you a little comment along the way, so when you're ready to do it, you'll see just how easy it can be. To start out, we've got what came from the package at Yoshimura. We have the actual can itself and the portion, which is similar to what you might see on a slip-on exhaust. And then we have the original, or the new header here, nicely done. And we've got a package with some sweet stickers and our hardware inside. We won't require too many tools today. Basically what we're looking at is just a socket set with some metric sockets, Allen head, a couple of ratchets, and we should be good to go. And let's move to the left hand side of the bike, and just above the swing arm and below the rear shock we're going to see another bolt that is what's clamping the main part of the exhaust to the muffler. This is a 12mm as well, so you can just, it'll take probably a long extension to get to it. But we're going to go ahead and loosen this up, and then we'll move back to the other side to work on removing the main portion. For the first step, I'm going to remove the guards out of the way. This will give us a little easier access to be able to remove the original exhaust system. It does help to have something soft to work over, so that when you take off your original pipe, you're not scratching it up. The first item we're going to do is remove the heat shield from this section. There's two 8mm cap screws there that we're just going to remove, so that'll give us a little bit better access to these two at the head. So step one is out of the way. We've removed our heat shield from the bottom section here, exposing the pipe. Next, what we're going to use is a 5mm hex or Allen head wrench to remove the cover from the factory exhaust pipe. If you remove the Allen headed bolt, there's two keepers in here. Basically there's just a couple of rubber grommets built into the plastic in the bottom. To remove this part, don't pry it, just slide it forward and it should come right off. And what you'll see here is where those two rubber pieces slide down into the existing exhaust pipe cover. The plastic heat shield removed. Underneath we'll see there is another heat shield that is in here. It's attached by a 10mm, it looks like, bolt. We really don't need to do anything with it to access the mounting points, so I don't see any reason to remove it. We're going to go ahead and move on to a couple of the mounting locations for the exhaust pipe itself underneath, and we're going to undo the clamp just here in the exhaust so we can remove it in two different sections. Should make it a little easier to handle. Next step, let's move to the left hand side of the bike, and just above the swing arm and below the rear shock we're going to see another bolt that is what's clamping the main part of the exhaust to the muffler. This is a 12mm as well, so you can just, it'll take probably a long extension to get to it. But we're going to go ahead and loosen this up, and then we'll move back to the other side to work on removing the main portion. Alright, we've loosened the exhaust clamp. It's loose, we can move it with our fingers. So at this point we're going to remove the main portion of the muffler. There's two bolts to loosen, both of them 12mm, so same that we've used all the way along here. The front bolt is out, the back bolt is loosened. What we're going to do is just support the weight a little bit with our hand here while we remove the second one. That way we don't put too much stress on this joint here. Out it comes. On the rear bolt, rather than just going into a portion of threads inside the frame, we actually have a back nut on here. So once it's loosened, we'll just support this a little bit and remove the back nut, and that allows us to pull out the nut and bolt. At this point it's free to swing out of the way, and we can just kind of begin to work this loose, trying to be careful not to bang it into the paint here. And just a little gentle wiggling, and out it comes. This is the clamp that we talked about earlier and the joint that slips on. Alright, so I can't resist doing this at least once. Let's just have a quick listen and see what it sounds like with no exhaust. We do still have the header connected to the head, so don't start it without that, but let's see what it sounds like. Kind of raspy, guaranteed to make the neighbors mad if you're coming home late at night, but we had to do it, so there you have it. Little genius maneuver. We've made the pipe nice and hot so it'll take the skin right off the end of your fingers, so if you do it, give yourself a couple minutes to let it cool down. Next, what we're going to do is loosen this bolt. Once we loosen this and remove it, we have to be very careful about supporting this so that it doesn't stress too much, doesn't place too much stress on the head. That could cause a lot of problems later. We've got the rear loosened, and I've got my magical pit mitt. You can buy it at any good home goods store, and it's great for keeping your hand cool while you're handling hot exhaust. Here we go. These are the two bolts that we're going to remove at the bottom of the head. These are also 12 millimeters, so 12 millimeter deep socket will get the job done. Alright, we removed the main portion of the exhaust, and this is what we just removed. These are actually long nuts, so they rotate off the stud, and you've got two studs left. And we're ready to start installing the new exhaust system. You can adjust the fit with respect to the muffler orientation by moving this. You may have to remove the spring assembly in the back. Takes a little pressure off, makes it a little bit easier to adjust. Once you're happy with everything, then go ahead and finish and torque this to factory spec. If anybody wants to buy a service manual and let me know what the factory spec is, fine. If not, we're just going to use Tiller 1K spec. Next step, we're going to go ahead and install the spring that holds the two sections together. Easiest way to do it is start it, hook it on the bottom. Yoshimura has been nice enough to include this handy dandy little hook installer. And we'll just lift this up until it clears. Let it back down. And that's all there is to it. We're going to go back underneath the frame and the mounting location here. We're going to go ahead and torque it to factory specifications. Again, in this case, we're going to use Tiller 1K spec because we don't have that and it's not really that critical down here. That's finished. On to the last step, which is tightening the bolts at the head, and we have our torque wrench ready to go for that. Alright, the last step is torquing the head bolts. Since we don't have a legit spec to work with and there's nothing in the Yoshimura book, we've tried a couple of settings and worked our way up from a little bit lower. Right now I've landed on about 15 foot-pounds, which feels plenty tight, and I'm not hearing any exhaust gas leaking from the head. So we're going to stick with that and hope that it's not too much, but I think we're in good shape there until we can get the specs from the manual. We're going to do just a quick comparison between stock and the new full Yoshimura system, and we're going to do this with the silencer in the Yoshimura system. So this is what it sounds like stock. Nice and mellow, won't wake up your grandmother. Good for stealth runs. When you're doing stuff you're not supposed to, it's nice and quiet. This sounds kind of a little boring and geriatric. Alright, so let's move on. Okay, and here we go with the full carbon fiber Yoshimura system.